In this tutorial, we are going to look at the video editing question of the Cambridge A-level IT Paper 2 exam for February-March 2023. And the question reads, you work for Tracy Tylers, who are creating a number of instructional video clips showing how to tile a room. You will create one of these short video clips. All video and audio clips must be of a professional standard. Open the file M3 Tiler 1 in your video editing software. Set the aspect ratio to 16:9. Splice the file M3 Tiler 2 to the end of this clip and add a suitable transition between these clips. Remove all sound from the combined clip. Remove the end of the combined clip so that only 41 seconds remained. Add a soundtrack M3 sound or MP3 to the clip so that the soundtrack ends as the video ends. Apply an appropriate fade out. Save your video clip in MP4 format with a resolution of 854 by 480, and the file name is Tyler_ followed by your center number and candidate number. We then move on to the storyboard section. Edit your video clip to match the storyboard. Time 0 seconds. Take a still image of the first frame of the video clip and set this as a background image. Place the name of the company as a title in the top right corner in a serif font. 4 seconds. Keep the same background image and title. Add the word window reveals below the title. Add the logo M3 logo.png like this, and that is shown in the image below. Time 8 seconds. A smooth transition into the video file saved at step 11. That means question 11. End. Save your video clip in MP4 format with a resolution of 854 by 480 and the file name window_ followed by your center number _ candidate number. I will be using Adobe Premiere Pro video editing software in answering this question. So here we are in Premiere Pro about to create a new project. I haven't named the project yet, but I have chosen the location as my exam folder. And I click OK. Now the first thing I'll suggest is for you to change your workspace here at the top to Effects. So we can have our effects where we will pick our transitions from on the right. So now I'll come down to my bottom left where the project bin is and right click and import our files into the video editing software. Can resize the various sections by placing the cursor on the borderline and dragging as desired. So first we have to set the aspect ratio to 16:9. And to do that, we place our first clip, which is M3 Tiler 1, on the timeline. We then go to sequence at the top, go into sequence settings, And in a frame size, we enter 1920 by 1080. Press the tab key and then we check to our right. The aspect ratio is showing here. It has changed to 16:9. Click OK. We have this warning. Just go ahead. Now the black rectangle you see here is the actual resolution of 16, or the actual aspect ratio of 16:9. We now need to resize our clip, which is M3 Tyler 1, to fit into this aspect ratio. So with our clip selected, we go to our top left corner here and look for effect controls. There it is. And under scale, you can place the cursor on the 100 we see here, click and drag to the right as you see your clip upscale till it fits in all the corners. I think 228 is okay. We now need to splice M3 Tyler 2 to the end of the clip and add a suitable transition between these two clips. And with a quick reference to the internet, let's look at what the word splice means. It says here to join or connect by interweaving the strands at the ends. In our case, the interweaving is formed by adding the transition. So I'm going to add M23 Tyler 2 and in the effects panel under video transitions, I select dissolve and select cross dissolve. Click and drag it on where the two videos join or the two clips join. You can ignore this transition warning. Click OK. And now we have to remove all sounds from the video clips. So I'll click and drag over both clips. And to remove the sound, I need to unlink the video clip from the audio clip. So I right click, select unlink. Now the video clips are separated from the audio clips. Now select the audio clips, press delete on my keyboard. Next, we are to remove the end of the combined clip so that only 41 seconds remain. So I'm going to go into my timer here, and where the second section is, I change it to 41, change the microseconds to 0, and press enter. Our playhead is on the 41-second mark. But before we continue, we need to resize M3 Tyler 2 to fit the aspect ratio. So just by selecting the clip, we go back up to our left, look for scale under effect controls, and click and drag, or we can just enter the number, same number we entered for M3 Tyler 1, 228. With the playhead still on the 41-second mark, pick our razor tool and form a cut on the clip. Take your selection tool, select the last portion, and delete. Now our clip is 41 seconds long. We need to add a soundtrack m3 sound.mp3. I'm going to add that also to the timeline and ensure that it ends as the video ends. I'm going to expand my timeline a bit. There are these two handles down here. Just click on one of the circles and you can use that to expand or contract the timeline. So I'm going to expand it a bit. Pick my razor tool once again. First of all, select the sound clip we added. Pick the razor tool and form another cut. Pick your selection tool, select the end of the sound clip and delete. We have to apply an appropriate fade out to this soundtrack. So I'll select my sound, and instead of coming to the volume and adding keyframes and stuff, we can just go into our effects panel, and from the audio transitions, I drop down, open the crossfade folder, and I select exponential fade. Just select, click, and drag it onto the end of the audio file. So when we play back, so there's that fade out effect there. So now we can, let me expand this back. Okay, so this is all we have. We can save our video clip in MP4 format with a resolution of 854 by 480 and the tile and the name Tyler, and follow it by our center number and candidate number. So with your timeline selection, you can just press Ctrl M, or you go to File and then you look for Export, and then you select Export Media. So in the export settings, we are going to make some changes and to reduce the size. So first thing, the output name. Click on the blue, make sure the right folder is selected, and then change the name to Tyler. Tyler underscore. I'm going to give a random center number. And candidate number. Now we make sure the format should be MP4. In that case, here make sure the format showing here is H.264. H.264 is the same as MP4. Now when we come down a bit, we see some menus lined up here. We select video, make sure it's on video, and there's a scroll button here with which if I drag down a bit, I see the width and the height of the video grayed out. Now we need to change this to 854 by 480, and to do that we click on this, or we uncheck this box so that we can have access to make changes to this. So first with the width, I'm going to enter 854, press the tab key, and automatically it changes the height for you to 480. That is because we have linked the width to the height in terms of aspect ratio. So with all these settings done, we can now click export to save our file. We are now going to edit our video to match the storyboard that has been given. First, I'm going to clear everything that we have in the timeline. Go back to our project bin, right click and import the file we just created, Tyler. And on the 0 seconds mark, it says take a still image of the first frame of the video clip and set this as a background image. So the video clip we just created, we're going to bring it back into the timeline. Make sure it's selected. Go back to sequence, settings, and this time around we are going to change the frame size to 854 by 480. Click OK. Ignore this warning. And then we have our clip fitting exactly into the frame. Now let's take a still image of the first frame. So we bring our playhead to the 0 second mark. We can just click on the timer here and press 0 and enter. So this is our first frame. Beneath the programs panel here, there's an icon that looks like a camera. This one. So click on it once. And when the export frame dialog appears, make the following changes. Give the frame a simple name that you can remember. I'm going to name mine first frame. Format remains JPEG. Path, I need to change. If it's not the right folder, just click on browse here and make sure it is pointing into your exams folder. Import into project must also be selected. What it does, it makes a copy into your folder and places one in the project we are working on right now so that you can make use of it, and click OK. So here we have our first frame. So I'm going to place the first frame in front of the video clip that we have in the timeline. So that will be on the 0 second mark. So I can click and drag, but as I'm dragging, I can click on Control, and what it does is, as you're bringing it in, it's going to push your Tyler video to the right. So when you see these arrows pointing to the right, it means it's going to push the next clip forward once it sticks to it, or once they are still joined. So first I have my still image here, and then here I have my video. So still on the 0 second mark, we are to add the name of the company as a tile in the top right corner in a serif font. And we know serif fonts are fonts that have extensions at the ends, like Times New Roman, etc. So I'm going to pick my type 2, denoted by the T, and just start typing on our clip. But before then, let me do Ctrl Z. Make sure our playhead, as usual, is on 0, because that is when the name is supposed to appear according to the storyboard. Then I start typing Tracy's Tyler's So that's it, Tracy's Tyler's. That's a company name. Next, we need to make changes to how the title looks. So in our effects panel, to our top left, we look for the text we just added. Here it is. Make sure the text clip is selected and change the font to Times New Roman. Now when we scroll down further, we look for the appearance and change the fill to yellow as it appears on the question paper. Now we need to resize it so that it fits into the top right corner here, just as it appears on the question paper. So back we go up, we look for the size just beside the regular here and reduce the size. I'm going to reduce it to 80. Come back to the program panel, click and drag it to the corner and see if it matches what we have on the question paper. So it means I need to reduce the size further. Next on the storyboard is 4 seconds. So we go into the timer and add 4 to the second section. Now come down here and expand our timeline so we see where the 4 seconds ends. So that is where the playhead is right now. And at that point it says keep the same background image and title. So we have to keep these two. And you have to add the text window reveals below the title and add the logo M23 logo just as it appears on the question paper. So once again, I will pick my type tool. Make sure nothing is selected in the timeline. So yes, something like this. Just click away from any of the clips. Make sure nothing is selected. Pick the type tool. And this time around, we're going to type the word window reveals. Just as it appears on the question paper. Pick my selection tool and click and drag it beneath the company headers. So let me make a quick reference to the question paper and yeah, there it is. Tracy Tyler's window reveals. Okay. Another thing I've noticed is the text is bold. I'm going to reduce the size for both a little bit further. So with our window reveals text selected, go into the effect controls panel, look for window reveals text, drop down the menu arrow and let's reduce it to say 50. And under Times New Roman, we have regular showing here. We are going to change that to bold. Now with the selection tool selected, I'm going to click and drag the window reveals further to my right. And I'm going to select Tracy Tyler's. Go back to the effects panel and change it from regular to bold as well. And reduce the size as well to say 50. I think that is 40. Let me change it to 45. I think 45 is perfect. I'm going to change window reveals as well to 45. Next, we are required to add our logo to our clip. So I'll make sure nothing here is selected in the timeline, not a clip. Go back to your project and look for the logo and click and drag it onto your timeline. So onto where the 4 seconds begin, snaps there and release. So we have our logo here as well, starting from the 4-second mark. Select it, go back to the effects panel or effect controls panel, and then for the position, we are going to make changes to the X and the Y position. The X is the first number and the Y the second. So first, let me send this up. I'm going to bring the playhead a little bit over the logo so that we can see what happens as I drag it to my left. It goes up, and for the X position, as I drag to my left, it moves to the left. Now for the scale, I need to reduce it, so the 100 we have beneath here, we reduce it to say 60. You can enter 60 and press the tab key, and then once again for the positioning, I need to drag my X and the Y positions accordingly. We can reduce it further, the scale. I'll reduce it to say 55. So it has to match what you have on the question paper. So I think this is okay. So all this starts, so the window reveals and the logo appears from the 4-second mark. Now after 8 seconds, there should be a smooth transition into the video clip we created in the first part of this question. Now we go into our timer, enter 8 seconds. And our playhead is placed on the 8-second mark. Now we need to make some quick changes to this part of our timeline. I'm going to contract the timeline a bit so that we can see, and reduce my project bin so that we can have more space for the timeline. Okay. Now the video is supposed to start from the 8-second mark according to the storyboard. So I'm going to select the video clip we created, click and drag till it snaps to the playhead at the 8-second mark. Next, I'm going to select the first frame that we created and the title, meaning the company name. Click and drag till it snaps to the 8-second mark. Further on top, we have the M23 logo and then the window reveals exceeding the 8-second mark. So we select both as well, pick the eraser tool and make a cut at the 8-second mark. Select and delete. And lastly, before we export our file, we need to add a transition between the first frame and the video clip. When we place our playhead on the first frame and the items, we realize that they have 4 different clips transitioning into one video. So to avoid the difficulty of having to add transitions to each and every item, we can select all the 4 clips, the text, the logo, and the first frame, right click, select Next. You can keep the default name and just click OK. And what it does is it creates a group of all the clips you've created. Then next we can go into our effects panel and under video transitions, drop down dissolve, and then we pick a simple transition of cross dissolve. Click and drag it in between the clips. You can ignore this warning. Click OK. When we play back, we have a smooth transition of everything to the video. Let's make a quick reference to the question paper and look at the next instruction. So after the 8-second mark and the smooth transition video, we save your video clip in MP4 format with a resolution of 854 by 480 with the file name window followed by your center number and candidate number. So with the timeline selected, we can now go into File and select Export Media. Once again, we ensure that it's an MP4 by selecting H264. The output name this time around is going to be window underscore the imaginary center number I created and my candidate number. Click on Save, and down in my video menu, make sure the width and the height is 854 by 480. Then click Export. And that does it for this tutorial. Hope you learned something new. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And to all A-level candidates who will be writing their IT paper 2 this week, we wish them all the best.